begin this morning in Boise, Idaho, where Chanley Painter is live ahead of Kohberger's sentencing. Chanley.
Hey, good morning, Todd and Carly. That's right. So in just a couple of hours, we are anticipating the sentencing hearing, which means it will start with the victim impact statements, now nearly 3 years in the making. We don't know exactly how many victims' family members will actually speak today, but we do know we've heard from the family of Ethan Chapin, and they do not plan to be in attendance today. But we could also hear from the victims' roommates who have so far avoided the spotlight. They may speak or have a statement read on their behalf, because they are also victims in this case. And then later, all eyes will be on the admitted mass murderer, Bryan Kohberger. He will have an opportunity to address the court if he wants to, but highly unlikely he actually will. This all comes after the 30-year-old agreed to plead guilty to save his own life from a potential death penalty after admitting to the brutal stabbings of 4 University of Idaho students in November 2022. But that agreement didn't require him to admit much of anything else, especially any details the family members want to know, especially the family of Kaylee Goncalves. Watch.
We all have the curiosity. We all have our limits of what we want to hear, but I know that we all want this to go away, and the easiest way for it to go away is if this person during his plea gives out information that only he would know, and then we don't have to play these conspiracy games.
And while today will be very emotional inside that courtroom, it will finally shine a spotlight on the real reason we are here, the victims. We know Kaylee Goncalves, her family opposed this plea agreement. They will be here. She was 21 years old. She was a senior about to graduate from the university. Her best friend, Madison Mogen, was 21 years old. She was also a senior at the University of Idaho, majoring in marketing. And then Xana Kernodle, a 20-year-old, also majoring in marketing. Her mother is reportedly going to give a statement today. And then Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, he was 20 years old. He was in the fraternity. He was a triplet. His sister and brother also attended the University of Idaho as well with him. A lot of heaviness will be felt inside that courtroom today, but I have to tell you guys, outside this courthouse, there's already a line. They aren't allowed to actually camp out on the courthouse grounds, but across the street, there's already a line forming for them to get inside this courthouse once it opens to have a seat inside the courtroom.
It's certainly open to the public. Chanley Painter live for us in Boise, Idaho. Chanley, thank you. Let's bring in Fox News contributor and Idaho Statesman investigative reporter Kevin Fixler. Kevin, thank you for joining us. You know, today really is going to be all about the victims' families, and they will be giving what will undeniably be gut-wrenching testimony. What can you tell us about who is going to be speaking today and what we can expect?
Good morning, Carly. As Chanley spoke to, we're not yet certain on who might offer statements this morning. We can anticipate the Goncalves family, both of Kaylee's parents and also her 4 siblings. We do also anticipate the parents of Madison Mogen to be in attendance, whether they give a statement themselves or perhaps an attorney on their behalf. And we have also heard that Kara Northington, the mother of Xana Kernodle, will be in attendance, understood to be her first appearance at any court hearing to this point over the more than 2.5 years.
We just heard Stephen Goncalves in Chanley's report talk about closure. But Kevin, knowing these families as you do, will today give them any sense of closure? Or is that even possible when you have a child taken from you so violently?
I think that's been one of the biggest frustrations for the Goncalves family. They feel that their desire to avoid a plea deal, to continue on with a trial and the potential of the death penalty, and at trial, the opportunity to hear more about the details about the last moments of their daughter. And so while they'll have an opportunity to direct comments directly at Bryan Kohberger and for the public in a courtroom setting for the very first time, I think closure for them is difficult. For the others, many of the other families have been supportive of this plea deal. They look forward to avoiding the torturous process of a public trial. So perhaps for them, this is turning a page, and we did hear that from the parents of Madison Mogen, both her father, Ben Mogen, and her mother, Karen Laramie, and her stepfather, Scott Laramie.
Idaho only has one maximum security prison. It's where Bryan Kohberger could be going. What do we know about what his life is going to be like after the sentencing is over?
Well, he's a high-profile prisoner the moment he arrives, and we do know that the state will have to secure his person for months and probably years to come. While he will not be on death row, it is expected that he will go to IMSI, the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. It's a complex about 30 minutes south of Boise, a rural area. He will be granted perhaps as much as 1 hour per day outside of his cell, and that'll be about it. He will be in a segregated area, secured by many guards frequently to ensure that his safety is ensured, and not a whole lot that's pretty out there. President Trump had issued a statement about Bryan Kohberger, hoping that the judge would force him to say more about the reason why he committed these murders. And he had said in his statement that although a death sentence is always awful, life in prison is not much better.
Kevin, today, as Carly said, is all about the victims. But what do you expect to hear from the lawyers in this case?
Yes, besides the opportunity for the victims to speak and perhaps for Bryan Kohberger also to address the court and whomever, the public, I suppose, the two sides will also have opportunities to speak. The prosecution may lay out more of their case. They could call a witness, in fact, if they wanted, put them up on the stand for testimony and probably lay out some of the evidence. So we can anticipate potentially that. On the other side, we could see the defense offer some mitigating details about either the reasons behind Kohberger's decision to attack these young people. We do also know, of course, that they've already agreed to accept life in prison without the chance of parole or the ability to appeal. So there's not a whole lot of benefit for them to lay that out, but they may, in fact, provide a little bit more detail.
And finally, Kevin, you've lived this case since these horrific murders took place November 2022. As a reporter, sometimes a specific detail or moment, family member or law enforcement will stay with you. Do you have that moment? And if so, what is that for you?
Tough question. I can remember the early days, the uncertainty when there was no suspect, when there was obviously no arrest, and there wasn't a whole lot of information also. And it was a community up in Moscow, which is about 6 hours north of Boise, where I live and where our newspaper is based. And you could just feel it in the air. It was eerie. People who were used to so much calm and serene and a community, really. College town, tight knit, and you really could feel the difference immediately following that, and then the weeks after. I wouldn't call it a joy when Bryan Kohberger was arrested and a suspect was named, but I can tell you that there was a relief,
Right.
and you could also sense that as students returned. So I recall that very vividly, and this is just the next and perhaps final stage in not turning the page, but at least the next step toward, if not closure, then a new level of healing for the entire state of Idaho.
Kevin Fixler, thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.